Futurizers, listen, don't be upset. I know we've been gone for a moment. However, if you are following us on YouTube, some fresh things up there, but I know that you need more, and we are going to get more consistent in putting more up there. However, it is the summer, and Raised Voices, we needed to slow down a little bit. So that's all that was. We are people. We might have did a little vacation, and here we are back. And so we're coming in the room fully charged, ready to learn, ready to be in the fields with you. And we have got new guests. I say it all the time. I just feel good saying that, just in case you thought when we said we were going to have guests, it was going to be one person coming in and out of the family. So we like saying that, right, Miss Tom? We like letting you know new really means new. You have not seen the faces on your screen other than me and Mrs. Downs, because we are consistently showing up. So
Absolutely.
We're back. So love on us, be gracious, we're grateful, keep the positivity going, because that's what we're doing. And we have got a powerful trio here that's coming from Family Services in New York. You know what that is. New York be coming with the resources. And especially for those who may be upstate New York, Dutchess, Orange, wherever you're at, sometimes you say to me, when I meet you in the community, I don't know where the resources are for my family. Okay. So you started it first. You said that to me. And I decided I've got to talk to some people to have their people come in. And as a result, Family Services is here to speak with us, to educate us, and to let us know they are not only available, they're active. And so that's who we have in the casa with us. Now, before these wonderful ladies introduce themselves to us, Miss Sounds is here. She got that powerful pink. I don't know what it signifies, but we're going to find out, because she has the word of the day that she's going to take us through. Hey, Miss Sounds, I'm just going to leave your people to you, and I'm going to sit back.
Well, hello, everyone. It's your girl, Miss Sounds, and we are here with the lovely, lovely, wonderful ladies of Family Services. And what we like to do is start with something called the word of the day, which is I'll read a quote, and then we all kind of go around and reflect on what that means to us right now in the moment. And so I'm going to read it. It says, "Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind." That's a good one. That is a good one. I'm gonna throw it to the ladies from Family Services real quick, and you can all round robin it, and we'll kind of reflect after you. So whoever wants to go first. If you want me to read it again, I can as well.
No, I've heard that before. I think I'm pretty much the type of person who will say what's on my mind. And sometimes it's, gotten me in trouble. But sometimes it's really important for people to hear direct communication. And I'm all about that.
My name is Jennifer. I am a coordinator here with a domestic violence program out in Dutchess County, New York. Your word speaks volumes to the work we do, because we always say our clients need to come as they are. We need to meet them where they are. So we need their truth. We need their authenticity. We need their uniqueness in order to understand their story, so that we can provide the services that they need, not what we think.
I agree a lot.
That's good.
And connected to that, I'm in the same program as Jen. I also think for folks to practice setting boundaries, right? Saying those out loud, and those who will respect your boundaries are the ones that matter, right? If they mind that you have a boundary, they might not be the people that matter.
Yeah, that's really good. No, those are good. It makes me think about authenticity and showing up as who you truly are for the one friend that you actually have, that is the person that really is accepting of you and is open to your growth and your change. For those that aren't called to your life in that way, you'll notice some resistance, and that's okay because they're not the ones called to you, And so for me, it just reminds me to always remember I'm authentic for me and whoever is called to my life as well.
And I'm supposed to follow that? My goodness. You
Yeah.
guys are
You
just,
go-
oh my goodness, y'all are awesome. I'm just gonna cheat and do a summary, okay, of everything you guys say. Because that's just easier right now. So sort of when I was listening to you guys, what it reminded me of in terms of acceptance of people, because I like what Miss Jennifer said. It's also accepting when someone, you have to let that person go because you've done all you can do. And that's tough for me. I gotta tell you. But that's what I thought of. Is that, when you've done all you can do and that person needs to move on for their advancement and also for your own advancement so that you can then help the next person that's probably coming to you, you have to let them go. And so that's what the quote and listening to you guys reminded me of, because sometimes I find that to be difficult. You want to kind of keep those people who have changed and transformed. You want to keep them around so that you can stay empowered. But part of empowerment is letting them go so that they could just go help someone too, right? So, okay, y'all gonna make me cry. We are not crying here on Raised Voices. That reminder was for me. Oh my goodness. So listen, Future Risers, as you know, we are here just to really be an inspiration, but we want to do that on top of education. Okay. And so we're not talking about a syllabus. We're not talking about college. We're not talking about textbook. We are talking about what's happening in real life and connected to those who are actually doing the work. And so, as I told you guys at the beginning, we have 3 powerful women that we are getting to know. We are just developing this relationship. But from the initial conversation, we knew they needed to be in this conversation with us, not only to educate you guys as you listen to us bring you the people, but to educate us, because we are still on our personal journey of development, trying to find our best selves, but not being silent anymore in the community that we choose to live in. So in the building, we have Miss Kathy, we have Miss Jennifer, and we have Miss Simone. And so I'm going to pass this to them to introduce themselves in terms of what they do and why. Why are they doing that? Because it's not like these ladies don't have options. And y'all know I love me some options. They have options, but they chose a particular way that they wanted to live their lives professionally. And so, Miss Kathy, I'm going to turn it to you, and then you will pass the baton as you see fit.
Thank you. So I got into the field, Kathy, is my name, and I got into the field of sexual assault about 20 years ago, this coming September. And I really was very naive back then about the effects that a sexual assault has on a person. Until I started meeting with people at the hospital, mostly women, and realizing the long-term effects that it could have on a person. And that became my passion. So I continued, I worked with victims over the years, survivors, but sexual assault was my passion because those survivors are often silenced. And that's a big piece of it, is that we want them to feel like they can speak out and, talk about their emotions, talk about their pain, talk about their journey, and talk about their healing process. So, and it is possible to heal from sexual assault, but you need support, and the support is not always there for sexual assault survivors, unfortunately. It's one of the crimes that people look at as, well, they must have somehow caused this themselves. Where were they? Why were they wearing that? What were they doing? What were they drinking? Where no other crime really, they don't really ask those questions of people. So that's, my journey working with survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence victims also, but I concentrate on the sexual assault piece because I feel like it was overlooked for so many years and sometimes still is. And I want to continue doing that. And make sure that people feel like they can speak out and not be silenced, which, you know, the Me Too movement has brought it out. And many people will ask me, well, why didn't they come out sooner? And why, you know, they just want money and all that. But it's because they were silenced and
Yes.
nobody listened to them and they were blamed. And there were people who sexually assaulted them were in very powerful positions.
Yes.
And more
Mm.
people speak out, the more people are going to come out and be able to heal from this.
Mm.
And I will pass it to Jen.
Hello, my name is Jennifer, or Jen, for the listeners. I am a coordinator for outreach and expansion here at Family Services in Dutchess County, New York. And I honestly got into this work to do admin. I, 2 years ago, walked in, got the job as an office manager, and got lost in paperwork. And the opportunity came for me to become a coordinator, and I was educated a lot. And honestly, there's a thing that gets said in this work where there's something that pulls you to it and you don't realize it. And I think for me personally, there's a lot of things in my past that pulled me towards this. And going through the education that I have gotten, I realized like a lot of things that I thought were okay were not okay. And I feel like that is what happens in the community, in every community. And it's not just here in the United States, everywhere, internationally. Things get swept under the rug. You're told not to talk about it. You're told not to think about it, and you're told to pray it away. But those things don't always go away, and there's scars that are left. There's trauma that is left. And being able to now have the coordinator position for outreach and expansion, I get to go out into the community. I get to talk to people, all ages, young, old, and I get to hear stories of like how people are being groomed into being, you know, subjects of violence. And I get to hear stories of how people survived their violence. And I am very passionate about letting those people know you are a survivor. You have a
Yes.
story. It is powerful, and you can help save someone else. And I will pass it to Miss Simone.
Thank you. My name is Simone. I am also a coordinator, same place where Jen works. I'm a coordinator of training and onboarding. So I get to teach a whole bunch of people when they start working in this field. There's a lot to learn, like Jen said, right? When we start onboarding here, it's more than 40 hours of training. So there's a lot to learn. We do work with victims of all crimes, but mainly we do have domestic violence and sexual assault are the bigger ones. I personally started my journey in this field working just with domestic violence for about 5 years before I came here. So that's where I have most of my knowledge. And I think like Jen mentioned, a lot of us choose this work for a reason, right? Or we have passion, like Kathy says, you know, there's a passion in there from something. And I think for me personally, I also have experiences personally that make me want to do this work. That sort of is the fire for me. And also working with survivors of domestic violence and hearing, you know, especially through the groups that I have been able to run over the years, hearing what they would like for people to know, right? We all know the, you know, movie example of someone with a black eye, right? Or someone who has a cut of some kind, something you can see. And sometimes that is what it is, but a lot of the time it's not, right? A lot of the time it's the stuff you don't see. And that's the stuff that people struggle with for a long time, right? Because the bruise will heal, but the mental aspect takes way longer to heal and takes a lot of work to heal.
Yeah.
So much going on in my head. But Miss Sounds, I'm gonna let you go because
Yeah.
all I have in my head right now is hard questions.
Yeah, I'll start it off with something that really stood out to me when the three of you were talking, which is this culture of silence and the harms of silence and the harms of not talking about or exposing. Can you talk to us about how in your interactions with the people that you are helping, how harmful is silence in the community? Let's talk about that.
I can at least
Sure.
start it.
Anybody, yeah.
I'm sure we've all heard of generational trauma, right? That's the harm. So, grandma went through it, grandma didn't speak about it, mom goes through it, she doesn't speak about it, and now you have your child and they're now potentially subject to it. And do they know that there's resources? Do they know that their voice will be heard? Probably not. So that's just that cycle that continues. And then it also protects the predator, right? The offender. It justifies their actions in a way.
Yes.
So I feel like that's the harm for me, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it comes to sexual violence, I have never met with one person at the hospital who has not blamed themselves.
Mm.
I will say never, because most likely the first word out of their mouth is, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that, because it's embedded in our society, the culture of shame and blame and guilt. And there are the people who do better in the healing process are the people who don't hold on to those myths and misconceptions in our culture. But unfortunately, we still live in a culture of rape being acceptable almost. It's portrayed in movies as like a glamorous thing at times. If you look back on some of the older movies and even some of the newer ones, you'll see that.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I think it plays a big part of the healing too, right? There's a lot of, who are you going to tell, right? Are you going to tell your best friend? How's your best friend going to react, right? Is this something we talk about or not? And again, if other people went through stuff and they didn't get to tell anyone, or maybe they did and they had a really bad experience, they might not want to talk about it. And it's an uncomfortable conversation, right? I mean, I don't think anyone enjoys having that conversation, but it has to be done. We have to talk about it because it is happening. And it happens to a lot of people, right? So, I mean, maybe we could talk about that too, how many people this actually happens to. I don't know internationally, but I think here it's 1 in 3 women experience domestic violence. And last I saw it was 1 in 4 men. So, it's a lot of us that go through, like if you drive down a road, you can count the houses, right? It's gotta be people on your street.
Yeah.
So is there a particular set of people that this is happening to, and not demographics? Because obviously if there's massive poverty, there's more silence, because like you said, who am I going to speak to, right? So not talking about that significantly. And most of the time we do talk about, the races and the color of the skin being who it's happening most to. But I want to level up from that, and let's talk about those who are middle income families doing well. Does your trend or information show that, okay, we're not talking about those who are poor and those who are not making money and those who are on social services and all the stuff we always talk about, but let's talk about the person who is working, who appears to be successful, right? Other stats there to say in the last 5 years, middle income families, we are seeing domestic violence in 1 out of every 100 household.
I don't think we have specific stats for that, but what we do know is it happens to everyone. Every kind of person, if you want to put it that way. No matter what your income is, no matter if you're employed or not, if you have kids or not, what your gender is, it doesn't matter. It happens to everyone. So I think that's really the focus, right? It's not, no one is excluded. Thank you. No one is excluded from this. And it doesn't necessarily happen more to other, groups than the middle group, if you want to put it that way. It happens to all kinds of.
So are there core trends that you see? So is it that, okay, this is happening predominantly in, let's just New York, the part of New York we're in, Is it happening there because of lack of education? And so this becomes a predator in the family? Or is it a power control situation? Is it that most of these families, when you look at the predator, they were abused as children as well? Like, there's some 3 core elements that show up for those who are perpetrating these crimes, and that's what I'm going to call it, whether they were sentenced, convicted, or arrested. I'm just going to call it a crime. You know, my podcast people on YouTube, so I can call it what I want to call it. So are there 3 core things that you see when you look back at the predators that seemed to be an accelerant to this function of society that they've decided to be a part of?
Who wants to do it?
I mean, I will say for the most part, from what I've learned, is offenders tend to gravitate more towards that narcissistic side. And so that tends to be a core element. I don't know if you've heard it before, but hurt people do hurt people. So there's sometimes chances where they might have been a victim of domestic violence or sexual assault, and or both, because we do know sexual assault does cross over into DV lines. And so they might be like displaying that in those relationships. And there is definitely, you're correct, power control. And that power control doesn't show up just physically. It shows up emotionally, psychologically, financially as well. So it's this need to hold on to something because you might be feeling like you're missing something. And however you can obtain it, that power over someone else, that's what they'll do.
Wow. Miss Sounds.
Yeah. I think about when I'm thinking about some of the conversation, I'm thinking about, you know, assault, abuse, these kinds of things happening in families, right? And within the family system, and how there are these unspoken rules in family systems that really center around loyalty. And that's where silence kind of creeps in as well, because I don't want to out anybody because I'm supposed to be loyal. They're my this, they're my that. And so in your work, have you experienced some difficulties in getting people to really kind of open up about this? And how do you make it a safe environment for them, or foster that, or help to foster that, so that they know that they're not betraying anybody by speaking the truth?
Right. Good question.
Can I take it? Please, love is beautiful, right? We love love. Love, right? Love is love, right? But it's also dangerous because a lot of times people don't want to out their offender because they love them. And that offender uses that love as part of their power control dynamic. So when you get a client that comes in and they clearly want to say something, they clearly want this to stop, you can always ask, I love that you love them, but how much do you love yourself? Are you going to show up for yourself today?
Miss Jennifer just hitting us. Miss Jennifer just told y'all I just felt she gonna come for us. I mean, we have homework to do, guys. The homework we have here, as I listen to Miss Jennifer, I mean, she just calling ace and ace. I don't know what to tell you. And it's that intentional thought process you have to have about your current life and what you want it to be. Is this it? Like, if you're in a terrible situation, all the love you have in you got to figure, well, is this it? This is the life I was born for? Miss Jennifer just coming for me. I'm just going to sit back here and just chill. I don't care, because she having me think. When Miss Kathy talked about the movies, to go through how many movies I watched in the last 4 days that may have a glorification that I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah.
All right, I'm doing homework live here on Raised Voices. I'm sorry, Miss Simone, you're gonna say something. I'm just like being hit in my head. My mind is going down some trails of introspection of what I need to do better.
But that's
Mm-mm.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I
And
just want to add that, you know, in sexual assault, also, I keep statistics in our county on who the perpetrators are. And I would say 95% of the time, they're an acquaintance, a friend, or intimate partner. It's not a
Mm.
stranger. It's not anyone jumping out of a bush. It's somebody they know, which also adds to the silence. Many people don't report because of that.
Mhm.
They don't want to get that person in trouble, and we have to respect that. They don't want to, you know, cause more problems in their lives. They're more worried about the other person sometimes. So they don't want to make that report, which they don't have to. You know, no one's forced to report to the police. So I think that adds to the silence, and you know, many people have this vision that, you know, there's these strangers walking around sexually assaulting people. It's
Mhm.
mostly somebody they know. And it could be a dating situation. It could be started out as a romantic situation. But then the power and control takes over and they feel like they are allowed
Yeah.
to take that, you know, take that person's, I don't even know what you want to call it, take that away from them. It's stolen,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Mm.
Future Risers, let me put a plug here because something is resounding in my spirit as I hear the ladies talk. I'm going to speak to 3 categories of our audience. Parents, I'm coming for you first.
Mhm.
I understand you want to be your kid's friend, but if you're listening to this conversation, please be a parent first. Wait till they're older and become their friend. Okay? I'm just, I don't know. I just have some warning bells going off in me today. I'm be their parent first. When they get a little older, they become grown. Then y'all can hang out. Okay. Y'all can go shopping to get all of that stuff. They're making their own money by that time and they're doing all right. Then you can cross over because Miss Kathy just said it's people they know that are doing the most harm. Oh, I'm listening. So you need to know. You need to know who are they on Roblox with? Yes, I'm coming for Roblox. Y'all are upset with me. That's all right. You need to know. You need to take the iPad away. They don't need to sleep with it under their pillows. Okay. Give them a certain amount of time because they have to live. And then you just ask them to hand that over to you because we have perpetrators on Roblox pretend to be children and your kid is up all night. I understand it's summer. I hear everybody in the back row talking to me, but I'm asking you to be a parent first. That's number 1. Number 2, teenage, young adult, young people. You're next on my list. I know you want to have fun. We all had some level of fun when we were younger. Times have changed. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot more to monitor, a lot more to know. I'm going to need you to have one part of your brain want to have a good future. Don't sacrifice you for anybody. I need part of your brain can be in love and young and all of that wonderful thing. Can I have the other part saying, though, I need to have me a good life when I get older? And that could be 1-2 years down the line older. I need you to know that you cannot give up your choices and influence just because of a feeling that overtakes you. Because at some point, all feelings stop. Okay? So I had to come down the street to let you know for teenagers. And the last row of people are going to be my believers. You figure out that category. I don't have to define it. That we have to understand good children get into trouble too. If there's an opportunity, Miss Kathy says it could be a romantic thing. It could start from a romantic thing. I understand the boy go to church. I get it. He's still human. You don't know the influence that he might have at home unless you are connected to the parents. I'm just asking all you believers, look into it and be careful because she's sad. We always think it's strangers. She woke me up today. Okay, that's it. I came down 3 streets. I'm going to have Miss Sound take y'all back to positive. I was just here for the warning segment.
Can I just say one more thing? I just
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
add to that. I want to add to that as far as letting people know that if somebody does come to them and tell them this happened to me, be that person who believes them. Because the first person somebody tells is going to decide what that person is going to do. They're either going to shut down. If you start questioning them, why did you do that? Why did you do that? They're going to shut down and they're not going to talk to anybody else. So that's really important, whether you're somebody at the hospital, whether you're a police officer, whether you're a friend, it's important, a parent, to not judge and to believe. That's,
That's good. No, you needed to say that.
So
You needed to
helpful.
say that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
kind of add to that
So
too,
helpful.
even from the domestic violence side of things, it's the same thing, right? Most relationships don't start with someone punching you in the face, right? You probably wouldn't go on a second date with someone if they did that on the first date. A lot of the time, these things start great. They're so charming, they're so sweet, they're maybe a little extra charming and sweet. It usually starts out great, and there are going to probably also be great moments, right? And that's another reason why it can be hard for people, like Jen mentioned before, right? There's love there. It usually does start with love, and there could still be love along the way, from that person, even though it starts getting worse and worse. So just keeping that in mind too, right? When you meet that person, they could be the most charming and wonderful person at first, and you're not gonna know until it's been a while and they start showing you who they really are.
No, you're right about it. I'm glad you guys connected that because at the end of the day, every human being on the planet needs to understand that that other person is an extension of you. They're not you. You're still responsible to be an individual. Okay, because I hear people say, "Oh, I'm living for him, I'm living for her." Okay, the love song is great. I'm going to buy it and download it. But however, there is still caution that you are an individual. There was nobody born like you, period. Period. It doesn't matter if you have a look-alike. You're born at a completely different time for a completely different purpose, put together uniquely. And as much as you love and you're in love, you must have something that's within you that you're living for that's not always attached to another person. And I know that's tough. I know that's tough for some to find or to accept. So I'm just gonna say it to you. That's all I can do is a little reminder. Oh, it sounds like I want to lay down on a therapy couch. There is none in sight.
I have a question that follows up with kind of the last few points, which is that I can really sense that experiences like this that include things like assault, abuse, control, manipulation are, like Simone, you were saying, they start off quote unquote good. They start off with flattery and charm. And I noticed that the charm and the flattery can be, they're often can be tools to kind of disembody somebody, right? Disconnect them from their intuition, disconnect them from their inner voice telling them, no, this is not right. Their senses, everything. And so I imagine that the people that you're dealing with in some cases can be very disconnected from who they are, which ties into the whole self-love, not really understanding how to do that. And so how does the organization, how do you support kind of this self-love embodiment, kind of putting someone back together to reconnect back with themselves? How do you support that?
Okay.
Yeah, I heard you. I could
Yes,
feel-
Jennifer, it's on you, Miss
Yeah.
Jennifer.
Yes. So with our program, at least, we do short-term clinical therapy. We do it for sexual trauma, and we also do it for domestic violence as well. But I think the most important thing is that we keep the door open for them to come in first to say what happened, right? They need to feel comfortable to do that. So obviously we get our training to be like to do crisis intervention and to be trauma informed as well. And we always say we want to empower them. So it's how much you want to tell us, it's when you want to report, it's if you want to go to court, it's letting them start making decisions for themselves. Because now you're taking back your power slowly. And then knowing that you have options too is also very healing. Sometimes just getting justice is the beginning of your healing journey. And then you can do the clinical therapy, to heal those deeper wounds inside of you.
Yeah, very much so. And then comes the work after that too, right? Because you went through something traumatic. You're not the same person anymore that you were before. So it's not just putting yourself back together, it's also learning, who am I now, right? I'm someone who went through trauma. And a lot of the times in domestic violence, we see that people get like that power control, they lose that to the offender. And a lot of the time they get isolated too. They might have had friends before, they might have been close with family, and that might not be the case at this point, right? Because that offender wants them to be isolated so they can have all the power and control over that person. So when they come out on the other side, they need to figure out, who am I and how can I build those connections again, right? How do I make new friends? How can I go back to my friend I used to have and explain, this is what happened, can we try again? There's a whole process in building up the next chapter of your life, and that can be overwhelming, but it's also one of the things that I love seeing when people start doing that and they feel empowered and they are ready to, write that next chapter of their life.
Yeah, and I also believe that it's important to break down those myths about domestic violence and sexual assault, because they're coming in with those in their head. And we need to break those down for them and let them know that, no, this is not your fault. You did not do this. And re-educate them on that piece, because it's in our society. It's embedded in our brains that somehow, it's our fault if we got into this situation, if this happened to us, sexual assault or domestic violence. I've seen women come in, mostly women, I'm going to say that, come into the office, a shell of a human being by the time they get to us. And building that person back up is going to take time. It's going to take therapy and encouragement and education and making sure they have options.
Wow. Listen, future risers, we're going to split this up. So I'm going to have to end it here for part 1. Don't be upset with me. It's all right. You guys know what the process is. You know how we do it. I know it's getting good. It will be better again on part 2. So we are going to park our car here. And we're going to be back with these ladies. They're all 3 coming back. Don't worry, we're not going to leave nobody out of the mix. And when we come back, we're going to dig a little deeper in what type of support programs do they have? Because I don't want you to think that what we've touched so far is all that they provide. And so we're just going to try to get some specifics, but we will also continue with the hard questions. So y'all see me, I'm pensive today. So I'm not going to do too much rah-rah. I'm just going to see y'all soon, because I have a lot going on in my brain and I'm learning some things. We'll see y'all shortly.
All right. Bye.
Hi.